This is going to be wild. We're going to try this for the
It's gonna
first
be
time.
fun.
He has no idea. He has no idea what the subjects are, but we're going to get to know Mario Fratto right off the bat. So you guys get to know, everybody gets to know what he's all about. So here we go. We're going to go with the first subject is electric vehicles.
Look, I'm not against electric vehicles. If somebody wants them, I'm all for choice. I think you should have hybrids, electric vehicles, whatever you want. What I'm against is mandates for that stuff. I think that we have a huge problem right now with China having so much control of cobalt and lithium and all the materials made for batteries. And you have these politicians on both sides of the aisle that are heavily invested in this stuff too. So whether it's in solar, whether it's in electric, they're set to gain financially. And really, it's helping China. You know, all these batteries are being made in China. And what they don't understand is when they're charging the vehicle, it's plugged in somewhere and it's probably coming from a coal plant somewhere. Yeah. So, you know, I'm not against them, but I just think people got to get wise to it. And I don't like this replacement theory that they're trying to push.
So more or less just choice. People should have the choice. And not be.
Yeah, you want to make them, but don't make us be beholden to China for these battery operated vehicles.
Okay, next one, quarantine camps.
I was shocked. I'm reading about that Hochul and the Democrats are pushing this out on a state level. Obviously, if I get elected to Congress, I wouldn't support anything like that from a federal level. But I think it's disgusting that they're even talking like that anymore. We saw what we went through with COVID. It was a disgrace. You know, people were kept from their loved ones. People were dying alone somewhere. They couldn't get cancer treatment. And to think that they're talking about rolling this out now is sickening. And I think we need to put an end to it. I think something like that is unconstitutional, not just on a state level, but federally to actually do that to people based on something like COVID. I mean, this isn't you know, the bubonic plague. You know, like it's ridiculous.
Right.
All right, here we go. Second Amendment.
Look, the Second Amendment is one of the only powers that is actually explicitly left to the federal government to protect, right? Because the Constitution's a restrictive document. It doesn't say it's a limiting document. It doesn't give power. It just says this is all you can do. And one of the few powers that the federal government is supposed to do is they're going to protect your Second Amendment rights, right? And I don't understand how you can have a constitutional right that changes based on what state you're in. So if you have a right to bear arms and that shall not be infringed, then that goes whether you're in Pennsylvania, whether in New Jersey, whether in New York or anywhere else. So we need constitutional carry. Bottom line, you should be able to carry in all 50 states. And whatever state has the least restrictive gun laws right now, that should probably be the nationwide standard and start from there.
Exactly.
Okay. Funding Ukraine.
Look, I think it was a mistake from the beginning. I understand some of the logic behind why people are scared about Putin and, you know, him expanding. But I got to say, look at, I think it was Tommy Tuberville, senator today. He said, or yesterday, they asked him what he thought about giving the money to Ukraine. And he said, well, he doesn't think we should be doing it. And they said, well, what happens if Putin wins? Or he said, what happens if the Russians win? And he goes, I never thought the Russians were going to lose. I never thought the Ukrainians were going to win anyway. So our money isn't really going to make a difference. But he said, if they can't beat Ukraine after more than a year and they're just in the eastern part of Ukraine, why are we scared? What are they going to do to a real country with a real military, you know, if they're in a year-long war with Ukraine? So I think that it's Europe should worry about their own backyard first. We need to put Americans first. We need to stop sending money overseas to all these other countries. And wars like the war in Ukraine are just meant to go on forever. They're not meant to end. Just like Afghanistan, just like Iraq, we're there for 20 years. And it's because if they don't send the money overseas, then there's no way to kick it back to the people here. And that's all it's about is washing that money and getting it back to other people. And I think Thomas Massey said, the congressman, they asked him, he said, look, 80% of money overseas is just, it's not going to where you think it's going, and it's just money laundering, 80%. And yet we're voting to do this. So I think it's ridiculous. And, you know, for that money is going to go anywhere. It should go here to veterans, to seniors, to people that are really struggling, that are American.
Right.
Wow. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, exactly. All right. So, okay, parental rights.
Look, first of all, I don't think, they're doing a lot of this in California, but obviously New York's not too far behind. In some instances, we're worse. Um, they're trying to be able to give kids hormone blockers. They're trying to withhold from a parent if their child says they want to identify as a different gender and telling them, well, we'll keep this between me and you, person in a room alone with your child talking to them about private things, saying you don't have a right to know. Or if your 14 or 15-year-old gets pregnant and they want to get an abortion, you don't have a right to know. I think that's ridiculous. The parents should have the ultimate rights when it comes to their kids. We need to keep the schools out of our homes. We need to keep the government out, and we really need to empower the parents in these cases. And I think as far as education too, your tax dollars should be able to follow the student, and they should be able to have school choice because we're paying. You look at these budgets. I think my own school district has like a $60 million budget for I forget how many kids, but it equals out to about $28,000 a year per student. And when you look at the private school in my area, it's $7,000 a year, and they're doing better. So they're spending a quarter of the money. You got them, the public school spending 4 times the money and doing worse than the private school. So that's all the bloat and the waste and the fraud and the abuse of that money. So look, if we let the parents have more of an impact on their children than the schools do, we're going to be a lot better off, because the schools just want to indoctrinate the kids, brainwash the kids, tell them America's a bad country, white people are bad. They got all the garbage that they're spewing, and the parents have the rights to determine how they want to bring up their kids, and that's
Like
a constitutional right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. All right, now this is the bonus question right here, the bonus subject, and this might throw you for a loop. I think it might throw you for a loop for a little bit, but okay. So the next one is cows farting. That is causing havoc. That is causing havoc with the climate.
Well, I don't know what they're feeding those things, but somebody's got to step in and cut back. I don't know if they need more fiber. Well, honestly, look, this is when people talk about a hoax, that's it right there. Was this not happening before? Were there not other animals on the planet that were even more than the livestock that we have now? I don't know if they're worried about cows. What were these other animals doing? Are we gonna eliminate elephants? And go to Africa and chop them down because we're worried about them, or are they eating organic food so they're safe? And it's but this is the kind of stuff, it's funny, and it is funny that we can laugh, but at the end of the day, these people are serious about this stuff. They're studying, bear DNA and mouse, reproduction in Oregon and all this stuff. And there's millions of dollars going towards these things while people are starving, while they're using the street like a toilet, all these things. And that's where they're putting our money. It's shameful, really. But the whole thing with the climate change, I mean, we got to take a hard look at that stuff and, find where we can agree, right? Like, I don't know why they want to prove to us that cows are bad or this is bad. We know it's bad if the water's dirty, right? Don't try to say it's going to do this or that. Just don't. Nobody wants a barge out in the ocean just dumping trash, right? Like, we all can agree on that, but instead they want to convince us that if we don't change our cars and we don't start eating less meat and we don't do this, that the planet's going to be gone in 10 years or whatever Al Gore said. I think we were supposed to all be dead by 2017.
So a long time ago. You're correct.
Yeah.
To me, it's a big hoax. To me, it's a big hoax.
Right.
It's just all
about the money.
Everything's about climate change, about carbon taxes and everything else, and just taxing people more.